Hey y'all, so I figured that today would be a good day to start building the coop. It is really hot outside, but at least it's not raining. You probably recognize this area, this little shop from my brother's videos over there at Southern Boy Swimming Upstream. He does a lot of woodworking in this shop, and I won't tell you who made it look like a mess, but you can probably take a guess. What are you doing? Huh? Okay. Yeah, my brother's out there pressure washing his car right now, so forgive me for if you hear kind of a buzzing back there. So the design I decided to go with was a chicken tractor type sort. I understand usually they're used for meat birds, but in my case, we've got a little bit of land, and I want to kind of build it to where they have a way for their poop and everything like that to be able to fall through and kind of fertilize the ground underneath. This build is going to be, I think, a 4x4x4 box is how I had it in the plans, but obviously we'll adjust if needed. But that should be plenty of space for 10 birds. I also want to put them into different pieces because there has been talk of us moving, and just in case we do end up moving, I want to be able to take it apart easily. That way we can ship it and put it into a moving truck. We can transport it easily and it won't take up as much room. So I did have that in thought when I made the plans for the build. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So these are my plans. I made them from scratch. I did get a lot of my inspiration from that Justin Rhodes video that I posted on my last video. So if you want to check that out, I'll put that at the top of the screen. But anyways, I just really like the chickshaw idea because not only can you like move it around, but it's also self-cleaning, which is like super awesome. I did take a lot of inspiration from that, but the one difference, actually two differences between my design and Mr. Rhodes' design is one, mine is bigger, so mine's a 4x4 box, but I think his, it's like a 4x3, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyways, mine's bigger. And it also, I use a finer mesh for the base, so not only large critters can't get in, but neither can snakes or smaller things like that. So this thing's built like a fort. So I begin by actually making the roof. I try to make these designs as simple as possible, and like I said before, I was trying to make it so that each of these pieces are separate, so if we do move, I could just like take all of these pieces apart, then stick them back together. Which would still be kind of a pain, not gonna lie, but it makes it a whole lot better than having to just scrap this one and or haul the whole thing whole. Again, to try to keep the design as simple as possible. I also decided to make my own plans because, as I stated in the last video, I've tried to utilize as much of that old coop as possible. I honestly didn't realize how dilapidated it truly was. Our neighbor actually was the one who helped us kind of like dispose of it and put it down the hill and stuff, but in doing so it kind of mangled a lot of the pieces, and even more of it was rotted. But I think the biggest pain to actually harvest was the wire mesh, because it was literally rolled on top of each other, so I mean it was like unspindling wires. But I eventually got some pieces that were still usable, and a lot of that I actually use on the final build. I don't actually think I use any of the chicken wire that I bought from Home Depot in the final build. I just was able to use all of that for the fencing, which was super helpful. So right now I'm just kind of making the base. I made two of the sides like a lot longer than the other sides because I was going to eventually put wheels on this thing, and I wanted a way to have handles so I could pick it up and move it around the different parts of the property. So I'm just kind of stapling the wire mesh to the base, and then I'm going to stick a strip of wood along the bottom to kind of keep that secure, and also so that a creature or whatever can't just come in and like pull the staples out. I just covered it up with the wood. also cut out a notch so that I could support the 2 pieces of wire mesh. I then put another support on the top so that they wouldn't step on the staples and hurt themselves. So as you guys can probably tell, I'm dressed differently. Yeah, that this is a new day. It was getting kind of late yesterday, and on top of that, my camera ran out of storage, so I figured I'd go ahead and finish the base. So this is kind of the finished product. You didn't miss too much. I just replaced that old wood piece that I originally put on the bottom because it was a little bit more rotted than what I thought it was, and I just added a new piece there, and then finished up trimming up the chicken wire. But other than that, I don't think you missed anything. I just want to go ahead and get that done yesterday so I wouldn't have to worry about it today. But anyways, let's hop back into it. So the next step was to build the front of the chicken coop. This is where the door and the windows and stuff are. Now my original plan was to have 2 windows on the side, and then the center was going to be covered up with the door, full length from top to bottom. But I realized that the pieces of mesh that I had were not long enough. So instead of doing that, I made the 2 ends to be covered up and then the middle part to be a ventilation window. And I think that'll be better too, because with our last chickens, we tried to keep them as secluded as possible because they are easily scared if they see another creature within the window while they're sleeping. And that can cause them to stress a lot, which will impact their laying. So I just thought it was a better idea overall just to keep the windows as minimal as possible. I was also able to use this old block for the door, which was super convenient, and also the old door from the old coop and one of the old hinges, which was super nice. So I was able to keep a lot of that stuff on there. The next step was super simple. It was literally just 2 2x4s cut in half for the walls, just put together like a sandbox. And I did that for both of them. I decided to go ahead and put up the fence stakes since it was getting a little bit late, just so I could go ahead and have my fence up. I just took 10 of those metal stakes, ran all of them around the perimeter. So here's me rolling out the wire. I will say it was more of a pain doing it by yourself because the roll is so big and so heavy and it's really awkward and nothing wants to stay. So I actually had to go in and like zip tie each stake after rolling it out on it. And it ended up looking really good. It was just kind of difficult. So I did end up, I think about halfway, asking Jacob if he would help me, and he kind of accepted, and it made the job so much easier. So lesson learned, don't roll out heavy chicken wire by yourself because it is a pain. But now I'm just going to go ahead and add the wheels. I know that in Justin Rhodes' build, he actually uses the big old wheels that are not inflatable. And he'll even tell you that they're like super expensive. And that's kind of the reason I didn't go with those. These were $50 a piece, and these were tiny wheelbarrow ones. But I figured, you know, if I had to pump it up with air, you know, once every so often, it wasn't going to kill me. And to save, you know,
$110 by simply going smaller with the wheels. I figured I could just lift it a little higher and I could save money that way. Though I do think the wheels look cooler when they're larger. But the goal of this design was not to look beautiful, but to be the most efficient, so. Here's me assembling Coop itself. This is probably one of the easiest parts, and Jabe again was kind of there to help me actually put the walls up. My most favorite part of doing any sort of like big construction project like this, I mean this is I guess big construction, but is actually seeing the whole thing come together, like all the pieces come on, because then it's like putting a puzzle together and you see the final outcome. Here I'm using actually the old roof on our last coop. This was literally, it used to be a door, and the people who used to own our property previously just used the door from our workshop to use on the chicken coop roof. And you can probably see that from some of Jacob's videos where our door is kind of like in half, and that is because they literally like cut the door in half so that they wouldn't have to go buy an extra roof. So since that was already there, I decided to use it, and it was in good condition. I just had to cut it off a little bit because it was too large. But it had gotten late at that point, and so I decided to wait till the next day to finish.